I've covered dystopian titles on the channel before in the form of Observer, Cyberpunk, Blade Runner, and the more recent Nobody Wants to Die. Another game recently released titled Karma: The Dark World. Now I am a little late to the party on this one on account of the Bioshock video, so apologies. Karma: The Dark World is a dark psychological thriller that is set in 1984 East Germany, which is under the control of the omnipresent Leviathan Corporation. You play as Daniel, one of this corporation's roam agents for their department called the Thought Bureau. A lot of the game and the mystery surrounding it is open to player interpretation. One of the game's big inspirations was Franz Kafka, who, considered to be an existentialist, often wrote about humanity's struggle through life in a world rife with bureaucracy, keeping them prisoners of the powers that be, in a sense. Man would be governed by laws that man had made him or herself, but also by invisible and mysterious decision makers. And those themes are present in this game. As for the gameplay, certain sections reminded me of parts of Bloober Team's Observer and provoked a similar response in me, in that they were cool to look at first, but quickly got tiring, boring and repetitive. But I'm here to talk the story, so before we dive in, make sure you hit the like button if you're enjoying the video at any point. Finally, as it's a fairly new game, I need to say that there will be spoilers in this one, so please keep that in mind. Let's begin. It's the 27th of December 1984 in East Germany, and Daniel McGovern wakes up in a hospital bed. He hears a female voice and it's telling him to wake up. He seems pretty disturbed after a quick look at his arm, and a look in the mirror shows us that Daniel looks pretty rough. Like many psychological horror games, Daniel has amnesia. A note there reads, "You people won't succeed, come to the transition room after calibration." A framed photograph also sits on the side, and it shows a family sat at a dining table. The drawer has lots of cassette tapes inside. Getting his bearings, Daniel leaves the room and goes through some basic calibration. Moving down a long corridor, Daniel spots a logo on the wall, showing that he appears to be in the Leviathan Corporation's Thought Bureau. He enters a large open area where bodies are being quite literally grown, but for what purpose is unclear, although a large number have been disposed of. One has broken out of its pod and is sitting down, but later passes away. Daniel hears a man's voice telling him to get rid of the body that just died, and to throw it onto the pile, calling the body a useless failure. Doing so, Daniel enters the room and approaches the man.
Find her. I am unimportant. You have to put an end to this.
I just woke up in the room over there.
Looks like you're finally awake.
Do you know what this place is?
Yes, of course.
And those twisted things
don't
outside.
have the time for an explanation. Have a seat on that chair for now. I'm working on something else.
The most important part is you have to get out. No, we all have to get out of this place. Wait, who are you? What are you doing to me? Why can't I recall anything?
You don't know who I am? Mother didn't tell you?
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Who the hell is Mother? I swear to you, I don't know a thing about you.
But that's impossible. For half my life, I have been serving her, one after another. You have never succeeded. None of you have. I put in so much effort to leave messages on the other side, yet none of you seem to care about them.
Hey, listen, this might be a misunderstanding. There are things I can't call to mind. I arrived here by accident. I can't be one of those people you speak of,
Only
right?
People can pass through the abyss. I cannot. I am trapped here forever. My memories... Wait, you're saying you lost your memories?
Yes, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I woke up in a room, passed through calibration, and ended up here.
You do seem different from them. Those useless people out there, all they care about is doing their jobs. Perhaps you may succeed. If you wish to retrieve your memories, this thing can help you. No, you won't be lost forever like them. They're failures.
Finding my memories? No! I think you've got the wrong person. I've explained it so many times. I did lose my memories, but I'm not one of those people you speak of.
Listen, Abba. I don't know how you ended up here, nor do I care. But you got here, and that means it's your mission. You must find your true memories.
You're insane! What are you doing? Hey!
You'll meet me again.
Look at me!
On the other side. In a different form. Good luck, Daniel.
After a dive into what the old man calls the abyss, Daniel finds himself in a sort of ocean, and he comments on the surreal nature of it all. Approaching a podium, Daniel is presented with a cassette tape, and he places it inside the player the old man gave to him. He is then transported to one of his memories from the 25th of March 1968. A young Daniel says that he was brought somewhere by people wearing outfits, and that some people took him and his sister from their parents, and that he's not seen her since. Young Daniel is placed in front of a device and is introduced to Mother. Mother shows Daniel a series of images, and Daniel's answer will determine the nation in which he resides. She explains that before the Leviathan Corporation arrived there in East Germany, the nation was ravaged by war, which of course was World War II. Mother claims that the Leviathan Corporation brought hope to the nation. She tells Daniel that he is required to serve the company, a company that shall guide Daniel forward, and that the gates of utopia will be open to those who serve. Daniel then receives the social ID 8490, becoming what is termed a newborn. The machine tells him his father was a brilliant scientist and that his mother was his father's assistant, both of them having made considerable contributions to Leviathan. Completing the tests, such as trying to knock over a bunch of blocks without touching them and trying to see the images on a set of cards face down, along with choosing which viewpoints he thinks are right or wrong, Daniel makes it through the test and signs a contract. Daniel then later becomes a roam agent for the Leviathan Corporation's Thought Bureau. Thought agents were nicknamed night crawlers by ordinary citizens. They listen to what people hear and watch what they see. On the 30th of April 1976, 4 years into his employment as a roam agent, Daniel is taken to a place called the Winston Institute. A man sits at the top of the stairs and welcomes him and introduces himself as Fred Ebert, the chief of the facility. It soon becomes clear that Daniel is to investigate a theft allegedly committed by an employee of the Institute by the name of Sean Mendez. Directing Daniel to the mailroom, he enters, and using the pneumatic device, he then receives a file on Sean Mendez from the Thought Bureau. It says that Mendez is a clerk at the Institute, and that the theft is thought to have been committed at the clerical office. Daniel needs to search for evidence of the theft and send that evidence to the Bureau. He is also to investigate an unusual incident that happened there at the office. Returning to the stairs, Fred Ebert is no longer there. He's left and Daniel moves up to the upper floors. Gaining access to the clerical office, Daniel finds a diary written by another employee, Emily Neumann. She refers to Sean as the cripple in the corner and speaks of how Sean has been acting suspiciously ever since he arrived 6 months prior. Daniel finds Sean Mendez's desk, and working out the password inside a drawer, he finds a sample of something. However, soon afterwards, Daniel spots someone who could be Sean walking past the doorway. Going after him, he disappears into a room, and following him, Daniel enters into a surreal-looking apartment scene where the family sat down at dinner. A nearby diary is written by Sean's young daughter, Grace, and she talks about how her father is a great scientist, and that she wants to be like her father when she grows up. It's clear now that the family sat at this table is Sean, his wife, and his daughter. The scene has now changed, and the family is sat on the couch watching TV. They seem like a happy family. The scene then changes again, and Sean's wife and daughter appear to be watching him leave for work. Taking an elevator down, Daniel comes out in what seems to be a laboratory. He finds a portable recorder and a tape, labelled Dasein 012. He had been conducting a test of some sort. Moving on again, Daniel walks down the corridor. The lights go out and the time, 9:45 PM, is shown on many clocks, all of them with their alarm going off. Finding a flashlight, Daniel finds a bunch of bodies in a room and another tape. This one reads Dasein 013. It features a woman asking a man if there's a way to free someone's consciousness from their body. Further on, still, Daniel spots some kind of monster behind a gate. Another tape, Dasein 014, is a recording of Sean, and he's saying that he doesn't want to die, and he's saying Daniel's name. Once again, moving down the long corridor, Daniel encounters many bodies and one grabs him, throwing him backwards. He spots Sean and his leg is ripped off. Jumping down, Daniel ends up in another surreal location, and this is an office. He walks through a door into the apartment again, and Sean and his wife appear to be arguing, with Grace sitting on the floor, hands over her ears. Another diary written by her states that her dad's leg has been like a cold piece of wood, and that he struggles to move around. It seems that the family are having some financial problems too. Daniel picks up a teddy bear and the leg comes off, and there's a knock at the door. Exiting the apartment, Daniel is back in the office again, and once again he heads into Sean's apartment. This time the place is a mess. Grace's diary now states that Sean's wife has left him, and that Sean himself is always coming home late. She mentions how he has her stay in her room whilst he talks to strangers who leave tasty snacks behind. She wishes that her mum and dad would get back together. Daniel hears Grace crying in her room. She appears and hands Daniel a teddy bear. It's the daughter bear. Placing it in the box along with the daddy bear and the mummy bear, Grace's crying stops and Daniel leaves the apartment. Now entering an ominous version of the same office, Daniel answers a series of phones and afterwards, navigating an incredibly surreal dining scene surrounded by Sean, his wife and Grace, dodging the overdue bills, Daniel drops down through a hole and is once again back in Sean's apartment. The apartment now sits in a black and white hue, and a letter sits on the table addressed to Sean's wife Heidi. It explains that Sean was killed whilst assisting the Leviathan Corporation with an investigation. Not only that, but they were to be kicked out of the apartment. But Heidi, of course, was not there. She'd left. Therefore, Grace was left in the apartment, starving, and ultimately died. A final diary entry reads that Heidi still hadn't returned, and that her dad didn't return home, for reasons already mentioned. Leaving the apartment, Daniel is back in the office for a final time, and he heads through the screen at the back of the office towards a large eye. Answering another phone, a female voice states that they're sorry, and that none of this should have happened. About to go through a door, Daniel is approached by a monster, and it's demanding the tape. Coming to, back in the mailroom, Daniel sends the evidence through the pneumatic tube back to the Thought Bureau. He then leaves the Institute and heads through the streets to the Thought Bureau. Some sort of execution is taking place in the square in front of the Bureau, and the people in the crowd are calling these people traitors. Showing his ID, Daniel walks towards the Bureau. A short time later, Daniel sits inside what's called the home room, and a nervous Rome agent speaks with him, which is not permitted, by the way. He's talking about a process called brain diving, which is quite literally diving into a person's mind and temporarily merging with them. Daniel is eventually called through, and he learns that Sean Mendes has been brought in for questioning on charges of theft and drug trafficking. Heading into the room, Daniel sits down and gets the case particulars from Mother. That Sean had stolen confidential research, which was a device containing something called Dasein. He speaks with Sean, who has been placed into a chair.
Sean Mendes.
Who? Who's there?
A Rome agent from the Thought Bureau. Daniel McGovern.
Rome? What do you want?
In response to a report, we investigated your office and found the missing item in your desk.
No, that's impossible. You're mistaken.
We found your fingerprints on the item. Please cooperate and do not try to make excuses.
No, I'm being framed. Just before you arrested me, I got attacked. That monster.
Monster? What do you mean? Sean?
No one believes me. But that monster really exists. That thing, it took my leg. I didn't think it would show up again. I shouldn't have been eavesdropping on them. They must be the ones who let the monster out. Yes, it must be.
Sean, I don't understand what you're saying. Mother, requesting brain dive.
No, wait! No, wait, what are you doing? No.
Memory capture complete.
No, please, I beg you, I don't want to go through this again. I don't want...
Memory channel established. Stand by for roam.
Placing the brain dive device on his head, Daniel dives into Sean's memories. In the abyss again, Daniel approaches a strange box. He is then transported to Sean's memory of him holding this music box, which was a birthday gift for Grace. He finds a recording device in the drawer of his desk.
What's the test subject status?
Dormant, as usual.
From now on, I'll deliver the bodies around this time. You'll take them to cold storage.
Understood. Professor, I can feel that his body is still mutating from the Dasein injection.
Dasein? We'll try our best to contain the test subject.
Understood. Professor, is there a way to free his consciousness from that huge body? Just like you and...
No. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Don't kill me.
Hiding from the monster, Sean eventually manages to sneak around it, but he knocks something over, leading to a chase. Managing to outrun it, he makes it into a vent, and this vent leads to another office. This office is strange. After getting rid of a broken TV, a door appears, and Sean walks through it into a hallway which itself leads to a room filled with paperwork. Sean sits at the table and has to stamp these pages using the ink pad every 3 stamps. It's mind-numbing work and it makes Sean very tired, so he drinks a special drink called Blue Bottle, which of course is created and supplied by the Leviathan Corporation, to make the workers work for longer, basically. According to diaries written by the staff in this office, Blue Bottle drinks are extremely addictive. The drinks also cause hallucinations and paranoia. Some people would even claim that the Leviathan Corporation were kidnapping people and selling their organs. Anyway, the drink became so in demand that people were trading it on the streets, and employees were relying on it just to get through their working day. An analysis report on the drug in the blue bottles is designated SH507, and it heightens focus and obedience, which is why all the workers in the office appear to love their jobs despite working under awful conditions. The drug is shown to have withdrawal symptoms too, as subjects exhibit anxiety, as shown in one employee. This employee had a procedure done to reduce their anxiety, surgery, and when they came back, they showed less anxiety but a lot more obedience, only being focused on work. A screen shows how any free time that people have is now company time, and any holidays scheduled were converted into work days instead. How fun. Occasionally a message will show up on the screen warning Sean not to drink the blue bottle, as it will alter his mind. It seems that the work never ends, with the paperwork piling up, but eventually Sean leaves the room and the office is now flipped, with TVs hanging down. Sean walks down a hallway and grabs a TV from a cabinet, in which are post-its reading help. Placing it onto a headless body of himself, Sean spots a hallway on the screen. He starts to freak out, stating that it is there. He is then chased by the monster again. He makes it to the end, coming out in the lobby of the Research Institute, but is grabbed by the monster. Its torso opens up and the face of what appears to be Daniel is in there, and is once again asking for the cassette. Handing the player to the monster, the screen fades to black, and Daniel is now back in the abyss, but has a doll key. Inserting the key into something from the other plinth, Daniel sees Sean penning a letter to his daughter Grace.
I don't know where to begin. Grace. Oh, my starlight. My radiant moon. My smart, beautiful daughter. I love you more than anything in the world. To the moon and back. But I should have been a better father. I focused too much on my career. I was always gone, leaving early and getting home late. Now you're older, I've let too much time slip by. Time I should have spent with you. Until the accident. I tried to fix everything. I even tried starting over. I tried to become the scientist dad you love and adore. But no one believed me. Everyone was the same. Even your mother. The path gets more and more difficult. It is all messed up. It's clear to me now. This isn't the right path. But it will make our lives better. Grace. Now, karma strikes. I can live with the consequences of my choices. But what about you, my precious girl? I don't know who can help us, or who will trust me. You. Will you help me?
Mother, requesting suspension of brain dive.
You saw it too. That thing's real.
Before all this happened, was it the same monster that took your leg?
You see, everyone thinks I'm mad, including me. This monster made me lose my job, my family. I did something terrible. I feel bitter. But none of that matters now. The only person who believes me turns out to be the Thought Bureau agent interrogating me.
What I saw in your head doesn't show the entire truth. The key to resolving everything lies deeper. Things that I've yet to see. Sean, for your child and for yourself.
Let's make a deal, Agent McGovern. If, I'm saying only if, promise me the Thought Bureau will protect my child from those bastards. Then I'll show you the truth about this monster.
Mother, I use my authority as a Rome agent to request protection for Grace Mendez.
Request approved. The Thought Bureau has been informed.
Let's begin.
Diving back in, as he said, Daniel needs to go deeper. On the final plinth in the abyss, Daniel retrieves a recording device. Picking it up, he is transported to a laboratory inside which Sean is undertaking an experiment on the Dasein substance. He performs a number of tests, but then at 9:45 the lights shut off and the institute is now closed. Looking out the window of his lab, he sees someone dressed in protective gear, wheeling a gurney down the corridor with a body on it. They stop to speak to someone and say that the Dasein supply has been connected to him, and the man on the other side of the radio says that he's taking his food to the 33rd floor. After they've left, Sean follows, eager to know what secrets they are hiding, thinking he may get credit for exposing it. Sean experiences something, but this is the effects of the brain dive. He then moves into another corridor.
What's the test subject status?
Dormant, as usual.
From now on, I'll deliver the bodies around this time. You'll take them to cold storage.
Understood. Professor, I can feel that his body is still mutating from the Dasein injection.
Dasein?
We'll try our best to contain the test subject.
Understood. Professor, is there a way to free his consciousness from that huge body? Like you and...
Who's there?
It was the body falling onto the floor.
I'll think about your suggestion. Remember, call me immediately if something happens, huh?
I want to know what they're hiding. If I successfully report them, I could get promoted.
Searching the small side office, Sean finds a cassette tape, and on it, a woman is speaking with someone called Lucas and saying that the day is his birthday. It becomes clear from the tape that they are keeping this Lucas alive, and that the woman is waiting for the day that they are reunited. A letter in the drawer is from this Lucas to the woman, revealed to be a Miss Rice. It is clear that her and Lucas were romantically involved. Sean manages to power up an elevator. He takes it down, and after suffering another issue with the brain dive, he enters the freezer area. This area is filled with bodies too. Taking an axe, Sean is confronted by statues of Daniel. Sean's mind is seeing Daniel as an intruder and wants him out of his head. So he destroys the Daniel statues as a method of resistance. Sean then comes out into a large area, another surreal representation of Daniel trying to get control of his mind. Sean pushes towards his own brain, trying to get Daniel out, and eventually he destroys the final Daniel statue. Then, everything goes silent. Mother says the dive subject is silent. Daniel is still inside the mind of Shawn Mendes. Pushing forward and trying to explore the remainder of the memories, Sean walks through a couple of doors and into a large area. This is what people call the matchbox. He sees the monster feasting on bodies. Shawn Mendes is now suffering severe brain damage, and Daniel demands Mother terminate the connection as the monster walks towards him. Sean then appears before Daniel on his knees in an empty space. Mother says that Sean is showing brain rejection and high intracranial pressure. Sean looks at Daniel and says that he doesn't want to die, that he has a child. The connection is terminated as Sean lets out a scream. After Sean suffers a brain hemorrhage, Daniel sees the final moments of this memory. A woman approaches, a researcher. Her name is Rachel. She finds the tape of the conversation that Sean had recorded of her and the mysterious man and apologizes to him. Out of Sean's brain now, Daniel looks up to see that Shawn Mendes is in a state. He's dead and has suffered a massive brain hemorrhage. Not only that, but his head is split open. Mother states the obvious and indicates that Daniel is having some sort of mental breakdown. He's distraught by what's happened. Mother attempts to calm him and this works, and Daniel is transported to a happier time and place in his life, his childhood. At home, in his room, Daniel's mother tells him to come and get ready for dinner. Going into the kitchen, Daniel sits at the table, and it's clear that Daniel's father was quite hard on him. Daniel doesn't remember what his parents' faces look like either. There's an aggressive knock on the door, and Daniel's parents usher him into a cupboard in which he hides. But Daniel now enters into a nightmare. He sees himself bleeding from his face, and a vision of Sean with his head split open grabs him through the mirror. He snaps out of it and is called into the homeroom in the bureau. In the homeroom sits Rachel, the Miss Vice we'd heard earlier. After lighting her cigarette for her, we learn that Rachel Vice is a suspect. She'd turned herself into the Thought Bureau and is to report to one of the dive rooms. She whispers in Daniel's ear, stating that they are all but lost lambs. Following her through, Daniel asks what Rachel and whoever it is behind this monster is trying to hide. Daniel then dives into Rachel's mind. In the abyss, Daniel goes to the podium and he answers the phone, then being transported to the point after she'd found Sean and the tape he'd made of the conversation. She is on the phone to a professor saying that she'd messed up. She says that Sean is still lying down there and it's all her fault. The The professor asks Rachel to send him the recorder and to delete any research data, so she does. Back with Rachel in the dive room, Daniel asks her who the professor is, but she does not answer. Instead, she asks if a glimpse of a memory is the absolute truth. She then says that Mother chooses which memories Daniel sees, that they are picked out for him. Rachel then gets free of her restraints and she turns the tables and dives into Daniel's brain. Daniel wakes up on his bed back in his childhood bedroom. He hears his mother calling him and she asks him to set the table, and after that is done, to turn the radio off in his father's study and to bring her some painkillers. He does so, but everything he's just done resets, and it appears that Daniel is stuck in some sort of mental loop when it comes to his home life. After a couple of loops, Daniel hears a bunch of books falling down in his father's study, and putting some of them back on the shelf, a secret stairwell is revealed. A basement lab is revealed, and animal testing was being carried out here by Daniel's father. A camera is in there, and approaching it, Daniel hears a young girl's voice telling him to look into the camera. He sees a giant eye staring at him, attached to the wall, and taking a photo of it, the eye is then destroyed. The voice says that she, meaning Rachel, won't be able to spy on him now, and the girl then leaves. Taking the camera and destroying more of these eyes around the house, Daniel eventually makes it back upstairs and into the living room. Going to ask his mother about the camera, Daniel sees that his mother is gone, and he hears that aggressive banging on the door again. Daniel goes to the door, and he turns around and sees his mother staring at a screen. Looking at her through the camera, she charges him. Stuck in a flooded hallway, Daniel must sneak up behind his mother and destroy the eye on her back. After enough time, Daniel has destroyed all the eyes and is back in the house. His mother is on the floor and she gets up trying to stab Daniel, accusing him of being loyal to Leviathan. In the struggle, he stabs his mother and she fades away. A voice in Daniel's head accuses him of killing his mother and being a Leviathan worshipper. This has been Rachel trying to get into Daniel's head. Daniel then leaves the house and is now in Rachel's memories, having regained control. He is in Rachel's apartment. Everything seems to be wrapped up, which is of course Rachel's own mind trying to hide her past. Destroying the eyes around the apartment using the camera, Daniel hears a voice telling him to put the camera away. A monster is inside the closet and it asks Daniel to bring it things. There are actually two monsters in this closet, and they represent Rachel's view of her parents. They want her belongings. Giving Daniel various notes, he pieces them together and learns that Rachel's father fought in World War II, but did not receive any support from Veterans Affairs after the war. Basically, he and Rachel's mother needed money, so they would sell their daughter to wealthy men, level B big shots, to do with as they pleased. Rachel was quite talented in the field of science, so much so that she won prizes, and later would receive letters from the Winston Institute, who were offering her a research job. But her parents would keep these letters in order to keep her close by.
I can't be free. Even my body doesn't belong to me. Why must it be like this? You're all blood-sucking monsters.
Rachel's mental state would understandably deteriorate, and she would take antidepressants to combat the depression. Daniel would also discover that one day Rachel's father got an offer for a more central location, since their place was outside of the city and clients were complaining about having to travel. Her father would continue to make a lot of money off of Rachel. Although Rachel hated her father and mother for what they were doing to her and making her do, she was happy to get away from her parents' home nonetheless, and likely saw it as her opportunity for a way out. After giving all the information to the monsters in the closet, Daniel is free to leave, and walks down the street where he receives a key to a room 108. This is the other room where Rachel will be forced into serving her father's clients. Daniel finds a letter written by the building manager who had a letter for Rachel, and it was a letter from the Winston Institute of Research. It appears that the building manager was trying to help Rachel. Entering the room, Daniel sees another memory of Rachel's.
Finally, I can leave this.
Rachel, are you ready? Our guests are arriving soon. Why are you so quiet? What are you doing? Listen, today's guests are all honoured guests. You better look your best, do you hear?
Fuck this family.
This could be a representation of Rachel setting fire to her past, although it's entirely possible she did actually set fire to the room in order to give herself a chance to escape her family. She then started working for the Institute in the role they'd offered her, and this is seen through Rachel being shown as an object flying through empty space, indicating that she's fearful of change, new surroundings, and that all this is unfamiliar to her. At first, she struggled to adapt to this busy, complex world, possibly thinking that she didn't fit in with other people, but she soon thrived and was able to progress through the company pretty quickly. The professor took her under his wing and showed her how to be a better scientist, and he would introduce her to Dasein where she would learn about its power. But one day, one of her subjects that she was studying escaped confinement. She would attempt to track it down. Then, whilst looking for the subject, she met Lucas, a botanist working at the Institute. The two eventually fell in love, with Lucas showing her that not all people are the same. Rachel realised that Lucas was different. He would take her to the only garden in the city, which he'd planted with his assistants. They talk about the beauty of nature. She imagined that other people being able to see this nature would inspire them to step out of the darkness, leave their mundane jobs. Time would go on, and Rachel, still terrified of change, would avoid Lucas, with her believing that one day he'd only end up being disappointed by her. But Lucas wouldn't give up on her, telling her that he has a plan for the future. Together, Lucas would then tell her he would take her away from the city. But that is a choice he'd leave to Rachel. She would agree. Ending up by an ocean, two ribbons are intertwined and one of them lands in front of a church. Daniel picks it up and heads up the long stairs. He enters and sees Rachel knelt next to a man's body, and she's upset. This body is clearly Lucas, but what happened to him? Rachel tells Daniel that he has potential, and Daniel says that they need to leave. She talks about Mother, asking if she's actually made the city any better at all. Rachel says that if Daniel decides to join them, she'll take him to see the one behind all this. She says for Daniel to think hard and to remember all the dirty business that he's done for Leviathan. Daniel hears the closet monster again saying that Rachel is his, handing the monster that is Rachel's father the blue ribbon. The monster directs Daniel to a large open area. There, Daniel sees numerous hands coming out of the ground and a large tube delivering sustenance to something. Sticking his hand inside it, Daniel rips out its heart, and the monster father states that he's a thief. Waiting for the hands to grab the monster, Daniel uses the camera to banish him, but only temporarily, as he repeatedly shows up in different areas. After the third time, ripping the heart out, Daniel approaches the closet monster and presents the heart to him. Finding himself in front of a strange growth, the closet monster gives Daniel a gun and says to kill him, the man who took their daughter away. This section has been a representation of Rachel's father trying to stop her being taken away by Lucas, who had gone to ask Rachel's father for her hand in marriage. But one day Rachel's father shot Lucas, and she would rush him to hospital. Daniel is thrown back into the abyss, and a dying Lucas lies there, and Rachel is there too. She says that she doesn't have much time left, and she directs him to the truth. She asks that Daniel leave them to be together in their final moments. Grabbing this truth, which is a photo of himself, Daniel is then transported to another memory.
I want to transfer all of Lucas's remaining consciousness to me.
Lucas, he has lingered too long at the gate of death. How do you know if his consciousness is still in his body anyway? Huh? Over the years, your body has been paying the price every time you manipulate his body to feed and conduct experiments.
Professor, I can sense him. I know there's still a part of him suffering in that body. I know you have a way, because you two are alike. You must know something beyond what science can do.
It's against the code of scientists. No, it's against the ethics of humanity. And even if I could, your body might not be able to take it. This is no easy task.
Professor, I'm grateful to you for giving me the chance to realize my dream. And because of that, I found the love of my life here. After what happened, you were the only one willing to help me and Lucas. I know you didn't do it purely out of kindness. There's something you're trying to achieve. All these years, I've never questioned your secrets or your plans because I've always believed in the things you do. But now my body, I don't have much time left. Professor, I beg you, all I want is to be with him in my final moments. I'm a dying pawn. I'll do anything for you in return.
You'll do this for him? Whatever the cost?
Whatever the cost.
All right, then.
After this memory, Daniel is now out of the brain dive and back in the dive room. Daniel is wondering why Fred Ebert had his photograph, and he wants to ask Rachel why. But Rachel wasn't kidding about her not having long left, as she's now brain dead. But it seems that she'd achieved what she'd set out to do. We'll find out exactly what that was shortly. Going to the Institute, Daniel needs to find out more. So, heading down the long corridor, he enters Fred Ebert's office, where he finds one half of a photograph with the word Rush written on the other side. A newspaper also mentions a Professor McGovern, that this McGovern had died in a tragic explosion, and that Professor McGovern was the origin of the Dasein research. Daniel then discovers a secret entrance to another part of the office, but in the chair he finds a dead Fred Ebert. He's holding the other half of the Rush photo, and fitting them together forms the word Gold Rush. Searching the office, he finds a whiteboard, and it appears to show a plan involving Rachel, Sean, and Daniel. All this was planned? Placing the photographs he's got onto the board, Daniel pieces things together. He needs to find the man in the other half of the Gold Rush photo, as he must be the key to all this. But at that moment, the word home appears on the board. There seems to be a disturbance, and Daniel appears to hear a female voice calling his name. He thinks it's Mother. Approaching the elevator, the environment around him starts to crumble and melt, and he retreats. He is then hit over the head by someone and passes out. Coming to, he finds himself in a chair in what appears to be the secret laboratory in his childhood home. The man that was meeting with Fred and Rachel is there. This is Professor McGovern, Daniel's father.
One is a father who has survived a disaster, lurking in the dark, waiting for an opportunity. The other is a son whose memory has been manipulated and now works as an executioner for the enemy. I'm glad to see that you've grown, son.
What are you saying?
I hope I've not spooked you. This half of my body is useless. If your big sister hadn't been so naughty...
Sister?
Hey!
No! What are you saying?
Calm down, young man. You don't have to recall everything all at once.
Who are you? What do you want with me? What is that?
There. It's all right. You must have been here at some point in time, somewhere in the depths of your memory. But Leviathan has altered your brain. These broken images must have made you feel confused at times.
No. Stop.
I know that feeling, Daniel. I know, as it is one of the results of my research. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that Mother would eventually apply what I did for her to my son.
What are you doing?
I'm going to bring you back and help you find your lost memories, Daniel. About the very beginning of this whole plan. I know you have many questions. All right, then. You may have realized how Fred and I came to know each other. The fact is, many years ago, we were members of an organization known as Gold Rush. We were sent to this city and created everything here.
Daniel, Leviathan's agent. In 3 days, I will create an opportunity for you to attack someone.
Who?
Sean Mendes.
Professor, I don't understand. Isn't he the one who...
I will create this opportunity precisely because he has those bad habits.
So I will put that pen recorder in his locker again.
But he's already...
I wouldn't feel sorry for him if I were you.
Sean Mendes, a smuggler and a thief. He's as much a criminal as the others.
Do I need to kill him?
You just need to create a distraction and take the cassette from him.
I'll contact my people in Leviathan and tell them to bring Daniel here.
Once Daniel learns about what happened between you and Sean, he'll surely notify the Thought Bureau. Immediately. Don't hesitate. You must go to the Bureau that very night. And turn yourself in. Keep him busy with these crimes, but try not to arouse Mother's suspicion.
Professor, I can do it. As long as it helps your cause. But he's a Thought Bureau agent. If he sees my memory, he'll see you as well. Or is that what you want? For him to come and look for you?
I have faith in my children. They are my future.
Daniel begins to remember. Having regained some more of his memories, we learn about why Daniel had to hide when people are knocking on the door of the family home when he was a child. Leviathan agents enter the home asking where the children are. Daniel's father says that he doesn't know what they are talking about, but they discover the children's bedroom. They then spot the closet. The mother calls out the name Lisa. Daniel remembers that he did indeed have a sister, Lisa. The Leviathan agents find the children in the wardrobe, and they drag Daniel and Lisa's mother before them, and Daniel tries to protect her. He fails and they shoot her in the head. So at some point, both Daniel and Lisa had become infected by a Dasein leak, but Lisa had some powers. This is evident when the Leviathan agents attempt to take them, and Lisa fights back. It culminates in her killing some of the agents, and then emitting a powerful blast, which injures her father. The surviving Leviathan agents then take Daniel and Lisa away. Fred orders Daniel's memory wiped, which explains why he has amnesia, and Fred Ebert looks straight at the professor and tells him that he deserves it. But aren't the two friends? The professor says that he's lost everything and looks angry. Daniel's father tells him that he failed as a father and failed to protect his family. He says that he will not spare anyone who destroys their family, and he says that that's what he's been doing for the years since his children were taken and his wife was killed. He tells Daniel that he needs to protect Lisa. He says that after the incident he took control of Fred Ebert's brain as he understood what Mother was really after. Lisa's power. Unlimited freedom. Daniel is key to that, as Mother can only discover Lisa's secret when he is dead. He says that he's thought of countless ways to save Daniel, and says there is a way to stop Mother. He tells Daniel that people will come to probe his memory, and that his brain will continue to deteriorate as a result of his mind being probed, and eventually Daniel's memory will collapse. His father explains that he planted a consciousness virus in Daniel's brain, so that when others come to view this particular memory, the virus will devour them, along with any that are owned by Leviathan, and that includes Mother. He explains that they need a critical link for that virus to work, and that is the death of Daniel's father, so despite his struggling, Daniel is made to plunge the knife into his father's stomach, and he dies whilst explaining that this is his destiny. Afterwards, Daniel is chased by the virus that his father just mentioned, since the Daniel we have been controlling is someone viewing the memory that the virus was designed to protect in the first place. Along the way, Daniel sees different things, such as Grace calling him a murderer for what happened to Sean. Daniel then sees a bright light and hears a female voice telling him to hang in there. After a final escape from the virus, Daniel is safe, as the bright light and the voice is revealed to be Lisa, who banishes the virus. She tells Daniel that she's been observing him since he had entered the original Daniel's head. She puts on his cassette player headphones and guides him through an area in order to try and find Daniel. They look at memories and travel deeper into Daniel's mind. Lisa puts them back together, they head through a door, and Lisa says that if Daniel fails to keep the secret of how Mother can obtain Lisa's power, then she'll kill him before that can happen. They've found Daniel.
Shh. Stay right here.
No, it's gone. All gone. Oh. gone.
Daniel?
Do you know who I am? Can you help me look at this?
Hi, Daniel.
Do you know my parents? They're in this photo. But I can no longer see them clearly. Mutter? Ojciec? Mom? I think my mother is calling me. She's calling me to dinner. Do you hear?
Oh, my little brother.
Dad, I failed to protect her. I didn't keep my promise. I don't want to stay in this lonely castle anymore. I can't take it.
Castle?
Dad, this is the castle. I feel that this world is like a castle, built from countless grains of sand, standing on a beach, covered with clouds, as the black waves continuously beat against it. Every time the waves come, they carry away some of the sand. In this endless eternity, I am the protector of this crumbling castle. The sand is my memories. The castle, ravaged by the waves, is the secret I have guarded all my life. One day, I will be swept into the sea with the last grains of sand. I can't hold on much longer. I'm trapped here forever. I will be completely forgotten. Father!
You've done very well, little brother. You've done very well.
But the castle... I want to see the secret again. I will never see it again.
My little brother, trust me, you will see it again, because I'm here with you.
Lisa, why did you take so long to find me? I've missed you so much.
Daniel.
Daniel then remembers a memory of them sat at the dining table as a happy family, just before the incident happened. Daniel has recovered his memories, and the game then ends. But you're probably a bit confused right now. Don't worry, I've got you. If you're like, what the hell just happened in that game? Allow me to explain chronologically. So in 1945, something called Gold Rush was set up by the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, and it was established in order to obtain and decipher classified documents. However, 4 years later in 1949, hidden research facilities were found underneath defeated nations, and one of these old facilities, destroyed by animals, contained a sealed crater out of which was flowing a black substance, which of course would go on to be called dacine. Through investigation, they discovered that the liquid had pure energy properties, and lots of it. So the USSR initiated something called the New World Plan. This is likely a nod to the New World Order, which many people believe would result in a more totalitarian world government. East Germany was of course under Soviet occupation, so in 1953 two men, Fred Ebert and Professor McGovern, proposed the use of dacine in order to restart the New World Plan. This also ushered in the Mother Project. Fast forward to 12 years later and the Gold Rush Committee was formed, made up of 12 scientists. One was Professor McGovern and the other was Fred Ebert. The East German Experimental Area was then established, which is the city we see in the game, and the Leviathan Technology Company was established as well. The Winston Institute was built too, and Professor McGovern would be the first director, with Fred Ebert being the chief scientist. Now, in what we can assume to be the experiments in the McGovern's secret laboratory involving animals, I'm assuming that one got out of its cage and Daniel and Lisa were infected by the dacine, with Lisa showing extraordinary abilities. At some point, Leviathan had found out about Lisa, and that's when Fred Ebert, along with Leviathan agents, went to the McGovern home, killed Daniel's mother, the incident happened and the children were taken away, with Daniel's memory being wiped. It was reported later that a now injured Professor McGovern had disappeared after this incident. But Professor McGovern somehow took control of Fred Ebert's mind. A man who was against him was now being forced to work in line with Professor McGovern's goals, for Daniel to remember the secret and to protect his sister by guarding that secret. Anyway, we learn that Rachel was sold by her father to rich and powerful men so that he could make money. That was until she escaped and accepted a job working as a scientist for the Institute, where she was taken under the wing of Fred Ebert, who taught her how to be a better scientist. However, during one of her experiments with dacine, one of the subjects died but then started running. It had reanimated and escaped its quarantine pod. Rachel had searched everywhere. She was terrified of what Leviathan would do to her, given the top secret nature of the project. She was terrified that she'd have to go back to her old life, but that is when she'd met Lucas. With the two of them wanting to marry, her father then shot Lucas. He died. She revived him with the dacine, but his body was just a dead husk, with his consciousness inside it. Lucas had, according to his research notes, become an amalgamation of both dacine and a human being. Lucas would be kept underneath the Institute, being fed an increasing number of corpses to sustain him, but the amount of bodies were becoming a bit much. A tape recording by Rachel details what happened to Lucas as a result of him being fed bodies, in that he started assimilating them, hence the multiple arms coming from his torso.
Dacine. I'm trying to mix this new substance into 30% of the test subject's blood. Lucas's body is slowly regenerating, but it's also undergoing abnormal changes. His body is becoming ever more deformed. It appears to be related to the food he's eaten. Every time I control him, I feel as if a part of me stays within him, or maybe a part of what's inside him stays in me.
This was something that Daniel's father discovered through his own research on animals and dacine. A Barbary macaque had bitten itself on the arm after being exposed to dacine, and another arm grew out of the wound, which displayed mouse-like characteristics after being fed mice. Rachel tried transferring Lucas's brain or consciousness to a test subject, but this did not work.
I tried transferring Lucas's brain to the test subject, but I failed. The test subject lacks any form of autonomous behavior other than maintaining the basic functions of life. Currently, the test subject relies solely on nutrient fluids for survival. His status is deteriorating. Maybe there's nothing I can do. With the equipment they provide, I can transfer my mind into the test subject and eat on his behalf. For a moment, I felt as if I could talk to him within the test subject. Though it was vague, I know it's him. His body. He's rotting.
Then Shawn Mendes' thing happened. He stumbled onto information he wasn't supposed to know, lost his leg after being attacked by Lucas, and was demoted to a clerk job, with his wife leaving him, and was forced to turn to a life of drug trafficking and smuggling in order to pay the bills and to look after his daughter Grace. With Rachel wanting to salvage what's left of Lucas, she asked Professor McGovern if it would be possible to transfer Lucas's consciousness into her own so that they could be together. He said it would be possible, but she would have to do something for him in return. A plan was formulated. They'd learned of Shawn Mendes' smuggling, and that he was preparing to sell samples of Dasein to a bidder, so they needed him taken care of, if you like. So they planted evidence for Daniel to find. It led him to Shawn, and he dove into his memories, where he saw Shawn's attack, and this led him to Rachel. All of this was planned. Which also explains why Fred Ebert had the Thought Bureau's shift schedule, as he wanted to greet Daniel at the Bureau. Rachel was then instructed to turn herself into the Thought Bureau, and she did, which is why she was already there in the homeroom to meet Daniel. She knew that Daniel would find her memory of her meeting with McGovern and Ebert, and the plan to reunite Daniel with his father. Then of course, after Lisa appears, she helps Daniel regain the final pieces of his memory. Lisa and Daniel's souls are connected, so as long as Daniel is around, Lisa will never lose control. She was only able to appear at the end because she was only able to regain her powers as Daniel's condition got worse. We are talking about the real, original Daniel here. But what do I mean by his condition? Post-credits, we get a scene which shows Daniel in a bathtub filled with Dasein. A tear rolls down his face and he dies. The only real Daniel was the one in the bathtub, the one that Leviathan was keeping on life support through the Dasein, and they were probing his mind trying to find the secret, which remember was how Mother could utilize Lisa and her power. The old man Daniel on the beach was him guarding the secret, represented by the sandcastles which were being eroded by the waves, representations of Leviathan's constant probing, and old man Dan was starting to forget what the secret was himself. It's only when Lisa visited him on his beach that he was able to fully remember his life before they were taken by Leviathan and his memory was wiped. The Daniel we play as was the final and successful attempt, after many others, to remember, and everything we see in the game were memories of real Daniel's life. The place Daniel wakes up in at the start of the game isn't real. It's a place created by the mind of Old Man Daniel in his quest to remember. Old Man Daniel was sending copies of himself into the abyss in order to try and retrieve his memories. I hope that makes sense. Daniel was in a sort of mind world controlled by Mother, but he would not give up the secret, which was how Leviathan could gain control of Lisa's powers, and he eventually passed away. The surreal experiences were just Daniel regaining his memories, but they're jumbled up and mixed up with some bleed through of memories happening, which is why he sees Shawn during his searching of the clerical offices at the Institute. As when he did that for real, he would have just been there, got the job done, and would have left, and interrogated Shawn Mendes, resulting in the accident and Shawn's death. He was experiencing this through his guilt due to what happened to Shawn whilst he was diving into his brain. It was well known though, throughout the Bureau, just how dangerous these brain dives were.
I heard that another Rome agent from Felonies ended up as vegetable after a brain dive yesterday.
That's scary. Thankfully, I only interrogate thieves. The easy stuff.
But they're the ones who really contribute to the company. Any that make it through will be fast-tracked for a social upgrade.
Shh, someone's coming.
Also, in the ending, we see that something happens to Lisa, and she just completely disappears. Let me know in the comments what you think happened. I believe that this is maybe being set up for a sequel of some sort myself. But that's it for this video on the story of Karma: The Dark World. An overall enjoyable experience in a very ambitious indie horror game. Like I said earlier, there were sections that dragged on a bit with the old Bloober recipe of doing things over and over again in the name of psychological surrealism, but the story was good, and I enjoyed finding all the details and piecing the script together. If you've enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and subscribe if you aren't already. Leave a comment below with your thoughts, but for now, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.